All right, we're back here on the Jason West podcast, taping this late on a Tuesday. First timer on the podcast, Bob Phelan, Oriole Report, all things Orioles. Great follow. Keep up with him there because the Baltimore Orioles are a good baseball team again, and that is something we have not been able to say for a very, very long time. Bob, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on here.
Thanks for being here. So yeah, that's kind of the impetus here. Is that the Orioles it's amazing that we're only a month away from spring training just about, and the Orioles to this point though, and I want to get your perspective on this as someone who covers this team day in, day out. I think for me and a lot of the folks at Fangraphs and all across baseball Twitter and baseball media are just kind of perplexed at what Mike Elias and the ownership group are doing this offseason based on just the big time just development year that you saw from the Orioles. Obviously they were sellers in a way at the deadline, moving Trey Mancini and company, but it was still like, hey, the winter, I think they're going to be a little bit more active. You saw the rumblings when it first started is the Orioles are going to be a little more active than in years past. And here we are on January 17th, and they have not really been active. Why? What is the sense that you get as to why the Orioles have been quiet this offseason?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they plan. I mean, ownership is a whole nother issue. Who knows what the budget, quote unquote, is for this team. You would think, they have one of the lowest payrolls in the sport for a few years now in a row. Mm-hmm. It would be like, all right, it's go time. Let's build on this. But I think they must have tried. You heard rumors that they were in on a bunch of pitchers. I'm guessing they just got outbid, or, some players like Chris Bassett chose Toronto over Baltimore. Maybe I heard there was a competitive offer for him. No confirmation, but I think it's just they missed out a lot. But they were able to, so far, improve on the fringes, and hopefully there's still a trade or two up their sleeves before the season gets going.
Yeah, it's just like Taijuan Walker, Jameson Taillon, like guys like that where it's like we didn't expect them to be in on Justin Verlander. Like you understand you're not going to convince guys like that or DeGrom or whoever to sign up for Baltimore this year, but like an arm or two on that, number 4, number 5, just veteran, consistent arm that you can count on. I'm just surprised that they have not gone down that road at all. Do you think they don't do it at all at this point, or do you think there is hope that someone who's still out there they will circle back on and maybe bring in?
I think the thought process is they have a bunch of guys like a Kyle Bradish, Dean Kramer, Austin Voth, even since he came over from the Nationals. Like they have a pretty decent mix of like mid at best to back end of the rotation starters. And, I think they want to continue to let them develop. I think they only want to, at this point, I think, they brought in Kyle Gibson, who solid veteran guy, back end of the rotation. At this point, I think if they do anything, there's still a chance they could trade for a Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, potentially from Milwaukee, maybe try to get a starter from Miami. They have an abundance, if a Shane
Pablo
Bieber
Lopez potentially
available. Yeah, I think if they get a guy at this point, they want it to be like a mid to top end guy, and they have the farm system to pretty much, if they're willing to do it, get anyone they want, just because they have one of the best farm systems in baseball. It's very deep on the hitter side, especially. So if they want to make the splash, they can. I don't know if it's going to be before the season or maybe at the trade deadline, depending on how things go in the first half.
It's just like if you're an Orioles fan, are you frustrated because of the development and because you're kind of ahead of schedule? It seems like they're kind of like, hey, look, we did not think we were going to be around 500 last year. We're sticking to our guns. It doesn't matter. We're not going to buy in to like, oh, too much too soon. I don't think baseball and sports works like this. I get antsy with organizations that are like, well, this doesn't fit our timeline, so this is just not going to be what we do. It's like you don't have a say in your timeline sometimes. Like the Padres could have just waited this out forever with their farm system, and AJ Preller was like, look, we have some stars. I have Fernando Tatis Jr. here. I have drafted really well. We've developed really well, but like there's still a tipping point where we have to add guys. We have to add the Manny Machados of the world to jumpstart this thing and get us into real contention, because we have the Dodgers in our division. We have the Giants. We have the Braves. We have the Mets and the NL, and it's just like it's going to be really hard. But we've done well, we've drafted well, and that's priority one. But eventually, you have to dive into the deep end, and when you're the Orioles right now, like you absolutely nailed it with Adley Rutschman, and you have these young cornerstones. I mean, Cedric Mullins has been awesome. You've developed well, like all across the board. Like you could use some more consistent help in the infield, I think. So they're probably not done there, but the Blue Jays have gone for it. The Blue Jays were like, yeah, we have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, but like we're still going to go out and be aggressive. We're going to trade for Matt Chapman. We're going to sign Brandon Belt. We're going to be aggressive and continuing to add and challenge the Yankees and the Rays really year in, year out. And I think the Orioles could. Like the Orioles could, I mean, they're right there. If you're a big Blue Jays guy, I'm like, the Orioles do a couple things. The AL East is right there. I don't think anyone is all the way sold that the Yankees have this on lock. The Rays had the season they just had. I don't know. I feel like if I'm an Orioles fan, I'm just perpetually annoyed. But this year in particular, I'm very annoyed.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because, like you said, this seemed like as good a time as any to strike. And I almost feel like that the surprising winning season last year almost put Elias in a position and the rest of the front office in a position where they might be a little ahead of schedule, which to me is a good thing. But I think they still, like 7 or 8 of their top 10 prospects will be in AA or AAA with the chance to make their debuts this year. I think they're trying to balance, like, give these guys an opportunity to win a job. But I don't know, when you're that close to making the playoffs and then anything can happen, I think you kind of got to push your chips in a little bit more than they have so far. You know, there's still a little bit of time in the offseason, but free agency is pretty much over and time is winding down.
Is there anybody you think they could still add? If you had to guess right now on January 17th that they add anybody, whether it's pitcher, bullpen, starter, infielder, like if you had to guess, who feels like an Oriole who's still out there potentially?
Man, I don't know. Michael Wacha has been, linked to them a little bit, but I'm not buying that. That's another guy that's like a Kyle Gibson type. I don't know if you need another one of them. So like I said, I think it'd probably be trade. Like, I'd love to find a way to get Christian Yelich and one of Woodruff or Burns from the Brewers because they kind of could use a left-handed bat. Yelich is there. He's expensive. The Brewers are cheap, just like the Orioles. So maybe they can work something out between the contracts and the prospects. But that seems like a pipe dream at this point in the offseason. But, yeah, I think it's basically going to be like, let's see what we got with Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman. If they hit the ground running to start 2023 and some of these other guys come up, then maybe they make a move from there. But yeah, I mean, still exciting team for next year, regardless. I mean, like I said, they got Adam Frazier, who's a little bit better than Rougned Odor. Kyle Gibson, probably a little bit better than Jordan Lyles. James McCann, a little bit better than Robinson Chirinos. They made these small upgrades on the fringes, but yeah, it's, like you said, it's a little frustrating.
Who do you think pops in spring training? You're all in on the talent pipeline, and like we talked about, like the Orioles have one of the best pipelines in baseball right now, and Elias deserves a lot of credit for what he's built there, but who's next? Like, who is next up that you think is going to contribute right away for this Orioles team in 2023?
I think could be Jordan Westberg. He's another infielder like Gunnar Henderson, a little bit older, was drafted out of college, Mississippi State. He's got good exit velocity, showed a lot of power this past year, hitting 27 home runs in AA and AAA combined. Can play short, third, second. I'd like to see him and Adam Frazier split time at second base, at least to start the year. If he can, if Westberg can win that job. He had more AAA time than Gunnar, and he just got passed over because Gunnar has pretty much star potential at his age and in his production. And another guy, I think he made his major league debut. I don't even think he's prospect eligible anymore, but Kyle Stowers, an outfielder, power hitting lefty. I think he could get a bigger run, a better chance to get some everyday at bats, maybe take away from Austin Hayes a little bit in left field and right field. So those would be the two I think are next, but there's also some other guys like Colton Cowser, an outfielder, first round pick from a couple years ago, and Joey Ortiz, who I think a lot of people are sleeping on. He's like incredibly good fielding shortstop who had a OPS over 1,000 in the second half of last season. So he's a breakout candidate as well, but Jorge Mateo would have to be traded first in order for him to get an opportunity.
I noticed you didn't say Grayson Rodriguez there.
That's true. It's easy to forget about him because he should have been, already not a prospect anymore after he was getting ready to come up, make his major league debut. Then he hurts his back, and never gets the opportunity. But yeah, you're right. He's probably the number one guy. I mean, he's
Well,
got.
do you think is he on the opening day roster?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I think him and DL Hall will both make the opening day roster.
Hmm.
And I think Grayson has a chance to be one of the rare pitching prospects who has a lot of success right away.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean, he's still young and has to take his lumps, and I'm sure he'll have some growing pains and learning experiences, but he's pretty polished. He's got 4 or 5 plus pitches, and wouldn't be surprised if he could be that mid to top of the rotation type of arm right away.
If you had to guess why Holliday is a star right away in the Orioles and the pros, why do you think that is?
His walk strikeout numbers as an 18-year-old in full season ball, or half of his time I think was full season. The other was like a short season, but I mean he had like 19 walks, 13 strikeouts I think, and he's 18. He's already pretty polished approach at the plate. In the field he can play second, shortstop pretty well.
Where do you think he plays?
I think he'll ultimately be a shortstop. I think he can stick there. Might be better at second base if he committed himself there, but I think he'll be passable, and the bat will play better if he can stick there. I think he's got potential to add some power to his frame and kind of be like another Gunnar Henderson type who kind of rises through the ranks pretty quickly at shortstop.
Do you think they work next to each other on the left side of the infield going forward? Is that a core that you're comfortable with?
That's the dream, but I think Holliday's he's still 2 or 3 years away, I'm sure, from making his major league debut. So
you say
then,
that, but
Gunnar
I
could
just
be,
saw Michael Harris on my team pop up and never play a second of AAA ball. And you never know with some of these guys. They can just skip AA, and he's super young, and just they're already handing him the keys. Vaughn Grissom might have the keys this year out of the gate for the Braves too. I don't know. I mean, y'all don't operate the same way, but the Braves do trust their pipeline, and the Orioles are kind of the same way. We think it's like, oh, they can't be up by 22 or 21, 20 years old, and it's like some of these guys can. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the way that the new front office has handled prospects where, I mean, they will jump them level by level. Like they're not like slow playing them. They're moving them up. If they prove they can master one level, they'll move them up to the next and keep pushing them until they hit a point where they need to adjust. So, yeah, and I wonder if there's is Max Fried available by any chance?
No, Max Fried's not. But you know what? The Braves have a question, like the 5 spot, like Bryce Elwood, is it him? Is it like, what is Mike Soroka at this point? We could give you an Ian Anderson. Like if Ian Anderson doesn't figure it out come spring, because like there's just not enough spots. Like someone's going to be the odd man out and start in AAA. Maybe 2 guys starting out in AAA. And I wonder with Soroka how much is too much, where it's just been so much. And he's the most talented of the group, and we've seen the best of Mike Soroka really is just not fair and pitches in a way that we just don't see in baseball anymore with this BABIP just insane. Doesn't matter who you are, he is going to make you ground out. I don't know. I miss watching him pitch all the time, but I don't know. I don't even know what his value is around the league. Like if they were to make him available, like I have no idea what Mike Soroka would command for anybody.
That's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, I hope he comes back healthy and strong because he was fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll see. If you had to guess who the best WAR of anyone on the Orioles this year is, who do you think it is?
It's not a question. It's Adley Rutschman.
No question.
Yeah,
not even Cedric Mullins, no one else? No?
I think he's a 5 or 6 WAR guy year in and year out, at least in his prime.
Okay.
If he's healthy, he's got great defense. Obviously, great approach at the plate, and even the small things like in the clubhouse and as a team leader, I think that obviously doesn't get accounted for more, but I think, he is the cornerstone, and hopefully they lock him up. That'd be another thing that could get Orioles fans a little less perturbed of this offseason if they announce a 10-year deal with Adley. But we'll see if that happens. Maybe Gunnar. I think those two, even though they're the young guys, I think they have the chance to lead the team in WAR. Obviously, Mullins, he had a great year in 2021, a little bit of a come down last year, but still a really solid player. With his defense, if he can just get a little bit of pop back from what he had in 2021, he could be up there too.
What's the biggest difference between Rutschman and Wieters?
Oh gosh, I'd say the bat speed is pretty noticeable. If you just scout the stat line, it's like, oh, okay, 2 great catchers putting up great numbers. But when you watched Wieters play, you could see his bat was a little bit slow. couldn't get to the velocity up in the zone as much, and Adley's bat speed is ridiculous. He's right on pitches, and yeah, there are some similarities, but I think Adley is all around a much better player in pretty much every area.
If you had to compare Gunnar to an Oriole of yesteryear, who would you compare him to?
That's a good question. He reminds me of Corey Seager. I'm sure that he's not a former Oriole, but it just seems like that's the
high praise, though.
Lefty bat with some power, maybe fringe defense at shortstop, but enough to get by. Could be a better third baseman if he moves there permanently. I'm trying to think of an Oriole. I don't know. That lefty power swing, it's pretty special. And he's proven in his minor league career that he works hard and he improves, and I don't know, like the sky's the limit with him. If I've never seen someone improve as much as he did from 2021 to 2022.
There you go. I like it. We'll end on this. Are they a playoff team as currently constructed right now?
It's tough. I think it would take some good breaks. I would think, not much regression from guys that had good years last year. Some breakouts. Need Gunnar and Adley to stay healthy and be for real. I think it's borderline as it stands right now. I think they'll be competitive for 80 to 85, 86 win season, and it just depends on what some other teams do at that point. But maybe you move it to the trade deadline and push them over the top.
I lied. I have one more question.
All
if you had to guess 1 through 9, what the starting, who the starting players are 1 through 9, who do you think it is?
All right, let's see.
Starting in left, let's go left, center, right. All right, left field. Who's the opening day starter?
I have Austin Hayes.
Okay, center field.
Cedric Mullins.
Right field.
I'll say Kyle Stowers.
Ooh, okay. DH.
Anthony Santander.
Okay. Third base.
Gunnar.
Shortstop.
Jorge Mateo.
Okay. Second base.
I will say Adam Frazier.
Okay. First base.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Catcher.
Adley Rutschman.
There you go. That's not bad. I mean, I don't think there's no way that the second base and shortstop situation is the exact same by the season's end, right?
I kind of agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Well, this has been great, Bob. I appreciate you making the time. What can the good folks check out from you all across the internet, Baltimore Sports and Life? What can the good folks check out from you this week?
Yeah, I'm writing a little bit on Baltimore Sports and Life, but my main thing with them is the BSL On the Verge, Orioles minor league podcast. And if you search BSL On the Verge on Twitter, we have and you want some Orioles minor league highlights, we got you covered there. And I'm also starting to write for Pitcher List a little bit, so check me out there. And I'm at the Oriole Report. I'll post anything I do there as well. So appreciate you having me on. I'll come back anytime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was great. Thank you so much. You have yourself a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.